The Utah Mammoth offense provides key goals at key times in a huge home win over the Bruins.
You are Locked On Mammoth, your daily podcast on the Utah Mammoth, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome in once again to Locked On Mammoth. Thanks for making us your first listen each and every single day when it comes to the Utah Mammoth Hockey Club. I'm veteran NHL voice Tom Callahan, joined as always by longtime team analyst Robyn Leaño, and we're here to talk about the big home win over the big bad Bruins. Cooley, Schmaltz, Keller, all contributing. The offense looks good right now, and when it mattered, Utah's defense was able to batten down the hatches and keep Pasta off the board. David Pastrnak had both goals for Boston in that one and made it a little bit closer than it needed to be, in my opinion. Plus, Robyn's got some fancy stats breakdowns. You're going to want to stay for those. We're going to explain some stuff, and this comes from a direct viewer question. Want to let everybody know today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and to win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Robyn, the offense is something. Look, we talk about all facets of this team all the time, but the offense is something that to start the season was a little sluggish. The goal scoring wasn't quite there, and I always say it's the race to three in the NHL. You get to 3 goals, and you play defense, and you get a couple of saves along the way. Tonight it was Vitek Vanacek. You should win the game. Well, they come out with a 3-2 win tonight, and it's the big names who get the goals at key times.
It is absolutely that, and it's nice to see the contributions coming from all across. But also, Tom, I also want to say it's huge to see just how important the offense is doing on keeping a forecheck established and doing everything like that. I want to point out something that was absolutely crazy is through well over half of a period in the third period, Boston didn't get a single shot on net. That just shows you what level of forecheck and how good of a game Utah was playing.
It's nice to see when you can really just figure out ways to disrupt those breakouts, to get in the lane for passes, to just keep teams from really being able to do anything. Robyn, even when Boston pulled the goalie at the end of the game, the Bruins just never really quite got it set up the way they wanted to get shots. And the 1 or 2 attempts they did have, Utah did something that I've been talking about their competitors doing the last couple of games, and that is clog up the middle and take away those high percentage shooting lanes.
Mm-hmm. And that's nice to see, right? They're getting smarter, and I think the term that I like that they're using, I heard it in the press conferences and I heard it on the television broadcast, Tom, is this team is maturing. And I think that's the best way to describe it, right? They're maturing and they're kind of understanding how the game flow is, and another year together, they're getting that better chemistry. They just work better together. And over the course of this season, we're going to see that improve even more.
And the thing is, this team, and we do talk about it having been together for a long time, but that's why we circled this year as the year to take the step, right? Mm-hmm. Because I'll call him the older core. Not that Nick Schmaltz started here, but he's been here a while now. Keller's been here a while. Krause has been here a while. Like that older core, these guys have been around for several seasons. But
even Hayton's been around for
right.
Like what, 9 years? Like,
yeah. And these guys are the ones who have carried it to the point where now that you have your Cooleys, your Guenthers, all these younger players that are starting to step up and find themselves here. And now you add a Peterka to that mix. Robyn, this is why we were so excited in the first place about the potential for this team to produce something magical this year and get into the playoffs.
And I think everyone knows this. We have been harping on this all off season, right? We have been saying that this team is in that phase. We know who the talent is. We know who Clayton Keller is. We know who these guys are. the question was, what kind of an impact were these new guys they're going to bring in? What's JJ Paterka going to do? What's the young guys? And they're like, how much are they going to be out and evolve, in the term I guess we'll keep using, and mature over time, and with Dylan Guenther and with Logan Cooley, and what kind of an impact are they going to make?
And that's why it's good to see right now. And I want to talk about Schmaltz for a moment. Hat trick the last game, comes into tonight again on fire. It looked like he scored that first goal, but it actually went in off of Cooley. But he's feeling it right now. And I love that, but I'm also very aware it is a contract year for Schmaltz, and he knows that clock is ticking towards April. So if he wants a job, whether it's here or somewhere else, and he wants to get paid well, especially with this cap going up, this is someone I don't think you and I have talked a lot about and the impact it could have on the salary cap moving forward, but a nice problem to have, I suppose.
Oh yeah, no, it certainly is nice, and I feel like Utah's in a nice spot, right? We talked about what contracts look like, for Utah in the next couple of years, and how things are going to go. And I feel like if there's any team that you'd want to be right now in this part of the salary cap era, it's Utah, because that they have the talent, but they're also not overspending. They were in some ways you can thank the Arizona Coyotes years for that. They didn't spend as much. Now that they have now they have the wiggle room to be like, okay, now we can go bank if we want to.
Right. And right now they've got about $4.5 million in cap space. They don't have to do anything yet. Even if they do sign extensions, those don't kick in till at least next year, which is why everybody's watching Cooley like a hawk. And by the way, his agent didn't say anything negative, didn't feel like the deal's not going to get done, but just said
there's no rush.
Right. There's no rush, which of course there's not, because if Cooley has another awesome year, that price goes up even more.
Yeah. Although I still think that term might be the biggest thing in question. Maybe they want I honestly think maybe that can be less years bet on himself, because when that contract expires, he can really go for the big money, for the big bucks.
Right. And whether that's in Utah or someplace else, of course, we'll see.
That's why a 5-6 year deal. I mean, we said it before, right? A 5-6 year deal, somewhere around there.
Especially when you're that young, that puts you out right in your prime. And that is when you are going to really get paid. But it does give Utah a nice established window, right? I mean, This year is the first year of the window just starting to open. This is we're cracking it to get a breeze of what the playoffs might smell like in the house. And then we're going to throw the windows wide open in what'll be year 3. That's what we had said really from the beginning, right, when this team moved to Utah. We've been saying that. So, but I want to get back to the game against the Bruins tonight. Outside of Pasta, just scoring a couple of nice goals. Like, that's what he does. He's a goal scorer. A couple of really well-placed shots. Other than
one of those rebounds, right? That was I think it was like a rebound that was really close. That's something Vanacek probably couldn't like hard to save, right? When you're that in close. And
I didn't think Vanacek was bad at all tonight.
No,
I didn't
he wasn't.
think
He was actually good.
Bad. Yeah, no, I didn't think the defense was bad. Shots were 27-26 in favor of the Mammoth. And again, Robin, as you referenced, only 3 for Boston in that third period. I mean, that was the impressive part, is when they needed to shut it down and keep Boston from getting anything going, any momentum whatsoever, they did.
Yeah, and all they needed to do was get ahead. I mean, the most important thing about that, and they weren't, they weren't scoring anymore, but the important thing is, this team didn't just try to cruise to the finish line. They didn't just kind of like fall back and play defense in their own zone. They played defense by playing a forecheck, by forcing the puck in the offensive zone and keeping it up there, keeping Boston from getting any opportunities to get any shots on.
Yeah, it was really nice to see. Also, by the way, Dylan Guenther's game winner, that's just Dylan Guenther being Dylan Guenther.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, Dylan Guenther's game winner, that shot was good, but the pass from Paterka.
Those two are fun. They're fun to watch. They really seem to understand each other.
And I will say, Tom, I would feel like I was wrong because I was questioning if they should be on the same line because they're two of the same, they're two of the same kind of a player, right? Do you wonder, is that a good thing? And I was, before the Sharks game, I was like, man, maybe you flip things up. I said, if the Sharks don't score like at least 6 goals, if they don't score at least 6 goals against the Sharks, then I'd consider switching things up. But of course, that game was a fun one to watch, right? If you were there, and I was like, okay,
Yep.
let's write it a little bit more. Let's write this a little bit more.
Yes, and you know what? That made it fun to see again the chemistry of those guys. Here's the thing: I'm going to take it back to last year for the Buffalo Sabres with Peterka, and it's one of the reasons why so many Sabres fans dumped on Peterka when he was traded to Utah. They made it sound like an excuse, which is weird to me because it's not an excuse. It's something really nice to have that you no longer have. Everybody said, well, all Peterka does is set up Tage Thompson. That's why he's got all these points. They're like, well, if it wasn't for Tage Thompson, Peterka wouldn't have any points. Like, okay, he's still setting them up and collecting the assists. Great. I love to hear that because Guenther's a shooter. So that's perfect. Let's just substitute Tage Thompson for Dylan Guenther. And if he gets to 40 goals this year, that'd be thrilling. But if Peterka has the capability to be a setup man to Dylan Guenther's shooter, great. Let's do it. So
yeah, absolutely. It certainly would be nice to see.
Yes. We do have some fancy stats stuff to get to. Robin wants to explain Robin, give me the correct name of what these are, these cards.
They're player impact cards, I think is the best way to explain it.
Okay, so we're going to talk about those, so stay tuned for that. We're going to talk a little bit more about the Boston game. We're going to look ahead at the schedule for the rest of the week as well, so stick around. Today's show brought to you in part by Monarch Money. Hey, let's be honest. Most of us can't even name all of our financial accounts, let alone what you're worth. Between 401ks, savings, investments, it is actually pretty easy to lose track, and that can mean leaving money on the table. That's why I started using Monarch, an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone or tablet. You're like me. It's helped me organize my accounts because everything's there in one place, which also then helps you track your spending better because, again, everything's there right in front of you, and it gives you a better handle on everything you have going on, your savings, your investments, all without having to touch a spreadsheet. So don't let financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use our code LOCKEDONNHL at monarch.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarch.com. Notice the change of the website, monarch.com. Our code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. Tom Callahan, Robyn Leaño here with you. It is Locked On Mammoth. Hey, if you like the show and you're still here and you haven't subscribed yet, please take a second right now. Go ahead and do that. Doesn't cost you anything. Our numbers are growing each and every single day, and we love you guys. The everydayers, we love you guys for the love and support you show us all the time. And, we had a great ticket giveaway for our YouTube subscribers. We're going to hope to do more ticket giveaways and more other giveaways too through the season here. So just, thanks. And everybody, we're turning you into everydayers. If you're new, it's fine. Buckle up.
Not only our YouTube subscribers, but also I just want to give a quick shout out for helping us get to 1,700 followers on Twitter as well.
Yes, big numbers. We're getting up there. And Robin, I don't mention our audio podcast enough, but I really should remind people that yes, you can get the audio version if you just want to listen while you're commuting to work or at the gym or whatever you're doing. And also you can ask your personal assistant / device to go ahead and play the latest episode of Locked On Mammoth, insert name here, and they will do that for you. So I don't want to trigger anybody's personal device, but
hey, I'll tell you right now something that maybe you don't know about this, maybe you do, a little interesting thing. I have automated my personal device. So when I actually deactivate my alarm, when I turn off my alarm, when it wakes me up in the morning, it reads me what my day is, and at the end of it, it plays whatever podcast I want. Sometimes it's our own show. Sometimes it's New York Times, a daily. Sometimes it's whatever.
I love that. Yep, the automated morning routine. I do like that. I had that set up for quite some time on mine. I actually need to reset. So, all right. Anyway, getting off the beaten path. Don't want to wander too far into the weeds, but big win over the Bruins. By the way, Mammoth are now tied for second in the division, along with several other teams.
Also, fun little fact: Tusky undefeated mascot.
Hey, if Tusky manages to go 41-0 at home, that would be amazing. That would be absolutely amazing. But 4-2, Robyn, it's a good start right now, I think. 3 of those 4 wins are in regulation. The other one was in overtime, so it goes in the row column.
Yeah, I mean, we did have some thoughts of the first couple of games, and I mean, the game against Colorado wasn't bad. But Nashville and Chicago, we had our opinions on. But after that, it looked like they slowly tried to pick things up. They slowly tried to figure things out. Obviously, we would have liked to see it earlier, but it's glad that they're figuring it out now. And again, it's still early in the season. And
I said they could go 7-4 through this early stretch, and they'd be in a playoff position 11 games in. Well, they're at 4-2. So 7-4 is absolutely within reach. Is it the way I thought they get there? Not necessarily, but who cares? Because if you get to that 7-4 and then it becomes 8-4 and it becomes 10-5, and then by the 20 game mark, let's say you are somewhere around 14-6 or 13-7, that's a good spot to be. And it keeps you in the playoffs. And once you're out in front, I think it's easier to maintain that pace than it is to have to play catch up.
This team just needs a little bit of that confidence boost. And I think coming home was that first step. And then, of course, as I mentioned, that game against the Sharks was one thing they really needed. They needed a win like that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So we'll see what Utah is going to get itself into here coming down this week. I said I wanted to take a look at the schedule before we get to talking about these player impact cards. So the next one, speaking of Colorado, this is actually where the stretch gets tough for the Mammoth. Because between now and October 28th, so the 21st through the 28th, that is essentially a week, they have 5 games. Against any 5 teams, that's a tough slog. But now it's Colorado on the 21st. The 23rd is St. Louis. The 25th is Minnesota. The 26th, the very next day, Winnipeg. And then you get a day off before on the 28th, you round out this crazy, what is essentially 8 days with Edmonton. Robyn, this is a difficult stretch.
It is. And I think it's an exciting stretch, though. Because it's going to test this team.
There's some prove-it games in here. Absolutely.
It's going to test this team. And I'm excited for it because if this team is actually getting the confidence we think they're getting, then it will be a fun test. We'll be able to see exactly what level of confidence and what level of an impact that some of these guys can really make.
Honestly, what would impress me is if they come through that 5-game stretch 3-2. I think there are 3 wins in there. There could be 4, but I think there's 3 wins in there if they are solid and have really turned that corner. Now, if they're still kind of figuring it out a little bit, might be 2-3. Could be 1-4. I don't see 4-1, but I think 3-2. I think they can get through that stretch.
Can you imagine if they go 4-1? Like that's
I'd love that. So much. I would absolutely love that because let's face it, it's a tough stretch. You've got Tuesday at home and then you've got 4 on the road, St. Louis, Minnesota, Winnipeg, Edmonton, and you're 5 games in 8 days with all that travel. That is not an easy stretch, but it's a critical early season test. You're right. So, but hey, 3-2, you come through that 3-2, I'll be very impressed. I really like where they're at. So, all right, let's get into talking about these player impact cards because the question came from over on, I believe, Twitter. It reached us from Twitter. So We do, again, we always read our comments and we always check the social media. So this segment coming up is a direct result of someone asking a question about this. And because Robyn is our fancy stats analyst, she is going to lead us right into talking about these player impact cards and how to read them, what they mean for you.
And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you do not want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the whole app. I love using FanDuel because it's a way to kind of just really just make my sports watching experience all that more exciting. Sometimes on Sundays, before all the games will start, I will set a 20-leg parlay of all the games going on, plus a couple of extra player props built into there on same game parlays. And sometimes I'll go into the live lines and take a look at how things are while the game is going on. It does it all for me. And it just, again, it makes that much more experience more exciting, especially for someone like me who's a stats nerd. I love all the stats. FanDuel just makes it that much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com and download the FanDuel app today to get started.
Back here, Locked on Mammoth. Tom Callahan, Robyn Leaño here with you. Tell your friends about the show. If you like what you hear, hey, share it with them. Send them the link directly, or at least ask them to take a look for Locked on Mammoth wherever you get your podcasts, audio, and, of course, video on the YouTube side. Robyn is going to get a little bit of a deep dive going here. We're going to talk about player impact cards. Dom Lasician from The Athletic is someone who got the ball rolling on this stuff. And Robyn, I'm going to go ahead and let you just take center stage here and go ahead and explain.
Yeah, so obviously it's Dom has this algorithm that puts together something called a game score that essentially will just tell you how a player's impact individually and with a team, how they do, and creates a score. Going into the score, it's something I'm not going to do on this episode, Tom, because it's very complicated. I might go a little bit into it. But what this other site did, hockeystatcards.com, and they actually share their stat cards on Twitter as well, is they share these player impact cards. Now I'm going to go ahead and bring it up from this game, specifically against Boston. They share these cards to kind of put Dom's data onto a graph to kind of really visualize what these scores are. And what it does is it breaks it down, Tom, into different aspects. We're seeing different colors here, right? We're seeing like a dark teal, turquoise color, and it's in like a purplish color for individual offense and defense. Team offense above average, team defense above average, power play, penalty kill, and it gives you their actual game score. And it kind of ranks them, right? It goes from top to bottom, tell you exactly what who was the most impactful, who was the least impactful on here, Tom. You see at the bottom, it goes from 0 to 3 and then -3 on each side. So if you go into the negative side, you are a less impactful player. If you are towards 3, you are more impactful. And it even breaks it down on those, right? 1.25 for example, for Nate Schmidt on individual defense, and 1.38 for Nate Schmidt, as well as on his individual offense, for a game score of 2.69. That's why he's at the top. He was a very impactful game. And it's really interesting because it takes a bunch of different, as I mentioned, Tom, a bunch of different advanced stats, advanced analytics to put into the score. Again, I would love to go into what goes into the algorithm, but it is complicated math.
The fact that one of the abbreviations is the QOT/QOC adjusted game score. That's already one of the things you're trying to figure out. But a lot of these grades kind of make sense in a generic sense. Even if you don't quite understand the deeper meaning of them, individual offense and individual defense, well, that applies to the player. Team offense above average and team defense above average has to do with the player being on the ice and then what the team does in and around them. So these things I think Robyn, for folks, can start to understand at least some of the basics of it.
Yeah.
It really does go pretty in depth.
It does, and I like that you mentioned that, right? Because the individual offense is, again, as you said, how they performed while they were directly on the ice, like how they directly performed with that team offense above average, as you said, as you said, is how did the team perform when that player was on the ice, and as you mentioned, Tom, QOT/QOC. If you want a little explanation what those is, quality of teammates, quality of competition. They adjust the game score based off of those, right? So they based off your line. Maybe the rest of your line mates were great, so they weight that score a little bit differently. Quality competition is so taking a look at the Boston Bruins. What was the competition like when you were on the ice? How did their impact was, and how is that going to impact your game score?
By the way, look at all that dark green for Schmaltz and Keller, and the dark green is individual offense. Yep. Love to see that. And even Cooley, Peterka, Guenther.
Yeah.
Yep. Love to see that. That's what we need to see from those players. And so this is a graphical representation of it. And people can take a look at these. They're freely available online.
We did see that Ole Mata and Dmitry Shemishev didn't have great games, according to this chart, but and again, if you look at it, that's based off their team. So the team hadn't have their best performance when they were on the ice, but they still did net a positive individual defense score. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. It looks like they still had enough of an impact. If you go to the website, by the way, Tom, okay, hockeystatcards.com, and it'll even allow you to take a look at all the different. You can look at Boston's stat card. You can look at Utah's, and you can look at the full game scorecard. And this is what's going to really help people understand what goes into it, because they have actually the stats that, at least some of the stats, I will say, because I won't tell you how they're weighted, but they have the stats that they use: time on ice, goals, assists, IXG, which is essentially like their individual expected goals, blocks, penalties, faceoffs, expected goals for, so that's their team expected goals against, goals for per 60, based off even strength, goals against, and then that quick brings up their game score.
So I think that is a pretty good intro to that stuff. And if you are interested, I will say this: if you're interested in getting more into the advanced analytics, feel free to reach out to Robyn on social media, or if you're someone who is into advanced analytics, I know that you guys could have a fantastic conversation. But I mean, these are all things that help us if you really want to analyze and kind of look at the stats and look at more than what you see on the ice. These definitely do help you. And honestly, they do help coaches and GMs make decisions.
Yeah. And
now,
then
they're
again,
not the be all end all.
No, they are not. And I think that's the thing. Advanced analytics, like super advanced analytics nerds, sometimes take it a little too far. And I kind of roll my eyes and I'm like, look, you are taking this bit of information a little bit too seriously. I use it for big picture things and say, all right, I use this and it helps me understand how the rest of the things are going to go.
Right.
I absolutely love it. And by the way, I'm actually going to bring it up real quick. Tom, if you look at the top corner there, it says stat cards, game score, and it has Dom's @ on there, and it says data. Look where they get their data from. Natural stat trick. How many times have I shown you guys a natural stat trick chart? So essentially, what this game score and player impact cards does is it takes a lot of the stuff that I have been telling you and a lot of the kind of information that I have been already be giving you, but it puts it all into individual player performances and what they do and what they mean for that player.
Yep, absolutely. And it's all part of the learning curve of the process. And hey, it can, you know what, you want to impress somebody on your next hockey conversation, you could always drop in a little bit of a fancy stat.
It's always nice, right? Like, I mean, like if we're going to like individual expected goals, to like beyond or that plus the all the other things like that. It's fun. That's like it's like the baseball analytics who go, the wins above replacement and everything like that, and go deeper into that. And I'm like, baseball analytics I'll never understand. Hockey analytics I can appreciate.
Being a very old baseball soul myself, so that I do love me some baseball. Go Jays. Okay, I think, Robyn, that kind of sums up what we wanted to get to. Big win over the Bruins tonight. Is there anything else you wanted to cover from the game, or maybe looking ahead here?
No, I just gotta say it's good to be talking about some good wins. I mean, that I feel like we were down in our dumps a little bit after that loss to Chicago, so we needed a little bit of a boost.
Well, this is definitely a boost. It's a big win over a Boston team that might be fighting for a playoff spot at the end of it all. I know that's disappointing for them to come into Utah and lose, but hey, number one, Delta Center's becoming a tough place to play, and I love that. And number two, they get it done. That's a team they should beat, and they did.
Every now and then, still, I see the ends with that the steep side, the steep end of the behind the net, and I'm like, that is steep.
It's awesome. I love it.
I hate to be the goalie, right? That sit there, the opposing goalie.
I think it's great. I love it. I absolutely love it. So, all right. Well, I guess that's going to wrap it up for us here, Robyn. Folks can always reach us in the comments, but where can they find us on social media?
Yeah, social media. You can find us everywhere on social media at Locked On Mammoth. That's at Locked On Mammoth. You can find us there, and we will interact with you guys pretty much back. I'm active very much on Twitter. So if you DM me, even at my either there or at my personal at Robyn_Leaño, I try to get back to you within a couple of hours. If not, usually by EOD or by early the next day. So I'm usually pretty active.
You can find me on Blue Sky. I'm at Tom Talks. You can find me on Twitter. I'm at Callahan on air there. And we always welcome you guys interacting with us. And boy, it's nice to put a bow on a big time win for this Mammoth team as they look to end the homestand. We're going to come at you on Tuesday with our Colorado game preview, and then we get to look ahead to a critical road swing coming up for the Mammoth to end the month of October. So thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll talk to you next time on Locked On Mammoth.